How's your about page working for you? Hello, you beautiful human you. Whether you're a newbie on Skool or an old hat, I wanted to share the tips and tricks that I've learned after helping hundreds of other people with their about pages in case it's helpful for you. Buckle up, Buttercup. This one's not for the faint of heart, but I think that there are things that anyone can take away from it if you make it to the end of this video. After working with hundreds of clients to clean up their about pages so they actually land better with their folks, here are the core things that I have found that most struggle with. First things first, how long has it been since you've checked your about page on mobile? This is one of the most common issues I find when it comes to an about page, is that the graphics, the words are too small, and or they have so much going on in each image that it's hard, especially on mobile, to figure out what exactly they're supposed to catch from what you're giving them. Especially important if you're bringing folks from off platform, so from other socials, your email list, things like that. They're most likely going to be mobile. And if they can't catch what they need to from your images, or your text copy looks really blocky on the screen without enough line breaks, or it's 50 bazillion bullet points, they're either going to skim or they're just going to move on to the next group. Because let's just be real, humans these days have a very tiny attention span. And so we need to be cognizant of that, and we need to make it as easy as possible for them to catch what's most important. And that's one of the things that's going to lead to them actually hitting join now, which is what we all want, right? And now let's jump into one of the biggest things that is incredibly important to pay attention to, so that the person that hits your about page, if they're your ideal client, hits the join now button. Once you've cleaned everything up and you've made sure it's mobile friendly, this is the next step. And while I don't love the word framework, I suppose that this is kind of what that is. And it kind of mirrors what Hormozy talks about often. And this goes for your VSL and for your text copy. So first thing that you have, either at the top of your text copy or at the beginning of your VSL, which is a video sales letter, if you're new to the business jargon, is a hook. And no, it doesn't have to be, I help X with Y, do this without or with this other thing. You don't have to sound generic like that. It becomes easier once you know who your ideal client is and their exact pain points and their dream outcome. It will make this whole process a lot easier. And then you can create a hook that talks about the dream outcome, like what they want, what they desire, but they're having a hard time doing or achieving on their own. And you can add in something, you can add in a with or without. Just don't make it generic AF. Right? So you start with the hook. Next thing you lead into is their pain points. And I know this one's a little sticky, especially for my folks that are in the holistic, esoteric, healing kind of sphere. It seems almost kind of icky, but it's incredibly paramount. Why? Because they need to realize that you understand exactly what they're going through on their own without your help. The third thing is who the hell you are. Yes, we're all trying to build communities, and many of us don't want to appear to be the guru, and I completely get that, but you're the owner of the space, you're the one that's holding the space. And even if you're not the guru, putting something about who you are, and no, not the laundry list of certifications and diplomas and all the stuff that everyone else lists out. Who are you as a human that understands what they're going through, where they want to be? Have you been there, done that before? And that's why you created this space? You need to be able to give them something that understands that you understand where they're at, and that you are the person that will get them to from point A to point B. And while it may resonate with your people, if your people and you are like the accreditations and the diplomas and the certifications land hard with them and that's what they need, then put them there. If it's not, then don't. Because oftentimes those same diplomas and accreditations and certifications are the same ones that everybody else in your niche has. And so it's really not going to set you apart from anybody else. So maybe it's time to get a little bit creative on what you put there, whether it's in your VSL or your text copy. And the last thing is the dream outcome. Where does your ideal client want to be? The future version of themselves looks like, what are they doing? How are they feeling? That sort of thing. Those are the 4 things that you want to have in your VSL and your text copy. Why? Because you basically want them going, damn, how are they in my head? They understand where I'm at right now, what I'm struggling with, going at this alone, and they know where I want to be. I'm in. That's what you want. Side note, for the love of Pete, if you choose to do a VSL, do you have to do a VSL? No. But if you choose to do one, Don't do one of those little looms with your face in a little tiny bubble or a little tiny rectangle with the slides or showing all of your classroom or doing all of that. You know why? Especially on mobile, like you're gonna be this big and nobody can see your face or your body language or hear your, like they can hear your voice, but they can't see your facial expressions. They can't see your body language, because that is also something that's incredibly important. Because if you are excited and you're passionate about what you're doing, that conveys through the screen. And if they can't see it because you're in this little tiny bubble, then it's kind of moot. And oftentimes, especially if you have people viewing like via the app or on mobile, they can't read your slides anyway. They can't see all of the stuff in the classroom. They can't see it. So it's better to do like in this framework where it's just like your upper body and your head, and you can have a clean something in the background, like not cluttered and gross looking. Like mine's cluttered on purpose. I just kind of love that. And so that's what I do. But like good lighting on your face and a semi-clean background. People want to see your facial expressions and your body language. And it also helps convey the message that you are trying to get across. If you sound flat or monotone, practice until you don't. Do you have to be like me and like wave your hands around and like be overexcited and do all? Nope, you don't. You want to be you. But you sounding passionate and excited about what you're talking about is definitely different than you reading off of a script or, you know, you just doing this because you have to. At that point, you'd almost be better just not having a VSL. And it doesn't matter. Like you can be quiet and reserved, but there is a difference in your voice and your body language and your facial expressions when you are excited and passionate about what you're talking about compared to when you're just reading off a script or you're just doing something because you have to. And why is that important? Because if you're not excited and passionate about what you're doing and what you're talking about, why the hell should anybody else be? Last thing about your VSL, if you choose to do one, do a thumbnail. You know that little play button in the middle? Make sure there's nothing that sits behind that. I would challenge you to put your face, you know, do a screenshot or whatever and like move it over so it's not in front of the play button, and then have a couple of words or play here or do something. And regardless of if you have a VSL or if you just have a static image for your first creative spot on your about page, I'm going to double dog dare you to test. Try adding your face like this bit of you to your image, whether it's a thumbnail on a video or whether it's a static image that's first on your about page and also in your discovery banner. When I did that some months ago, my discovery ranking jumped 100 points in the right direction with no other changes made. So, worth testing out. So I wanted to mention it. And like I said, is a VSL necessary? No, not always. I haven't had a VSL on mine and I've done just fine. Test and see. Try it out. It's worth trying. And if you don't love it or it doesn't help, you can always go back to the old way that you had or switch things up again. Okay, and this part also applies to the VSL and or text copy or images. Instead of focusing on the tools and methods, cough, cough, classroom, cough, focus on the outcome that the tool gives or the class gives. Why do they need that? We like to think that people buy from a logical point of view, like conscious to conscious brain. And so that's why we try to prove the value and all of the tools and methods that they get when they join. And yeah, for some niches and some things, that is going to be important. However, the bulk of the time, people are buying or joining a space from an emotional perspective. So like more of a subconscious, not a conscious logic a lot of the time. My friend Goose from Skool, he uses the analogy of broccoli wrapped in bacon. Oftentimes we try to focus on the broccoli and try to sell the broccoli on the about page or in messaging elsewhere, when really we need to focus on the bacon the broccoli is wrapped in to get them inside so that they can actually taste the broccoli and see that it's actually what they need. Yes, we know that they need the broccoli, but that goes inside the group. And the bacon or the dream outcomes of said broccoli, of eating said broccoli, are what goes on the about page. One way that I found that's really helpful for a lot of my clients is to add the two words "so that" to the end of the tool or method. We fix your mindset so that you can make more money. And yes, I know that many people may argue with me, but mindset is a tool. Like it's a method, like fixing the mindset, plus the fact that mindset is something that I think it's like a cultural thing or like just a society thing. For some reason, we all feel like that we have to work on the mindset stuff ourselves, or it's something that we can figure out alone. So most people aren't going to pay for mindset help. However, they will pay to have you help them make more money. And if that makes you cringy, because a lot of esoteric, healing, holistic, niche people that I've worked with, that part makes them like real skittish. Check out a few videos before, and we talk about what you need to do and a few simple questions to help you work through that. We help you get fit so that you can get on the floor and actually play with your grandkids when they come to visit. We help you eat healthier so you can fit into that dress that you bought, but it was a little bit small. It doesn't fit quite right yet. We help you do the inner work so you stop attracting the wrong guys that always treat you like shit. We have this certified tool you need. So all of the like fancy names for the tools that you have, maybe they're trademarked, maybe they're not. Folks aren't going to know what that is. Why do they need that tool? We have this certified tool so that you can make more money. And then guess what? You drop the actual tool, like whatever comes before that, you drop it, and you drop the so that. And you just put what comes after that on your about page. Because what comes after the so that is what helps them envision and feel and see that you understand what they want, what tangible thing that they want. And the way that you get them there is not important at first glance. It's not important enough to go on your about page. And it may even turn them away if you start talking about it too much. Because the one thing that you don't want to have happen is introduce overwhelm or the objection of, I don't have enough time or energy, when they see your classroom that's loaded with 50 different modules or a bullet list of like 20 different tools and methods. Remember, we're going after the emotional connection, the emotional response. Next up, if you don't have anything about you, like we kind of mentioned before, in your VSL or your text copy on your about page, it needs to freaking be there. Why? Because Skool is getting in on average about 1 million new users, not school owners, but users to the platform every week and a half, 2 weeks. So if they're finding your page from discovery, they need to know why they should trust you, like we mentioned earlier in the vid. And like we said, not a laundry list of certifications or diplomas. They want to know if you've either been there, done that, or you have some sort of context in a human sense. Also, many folks have been burned by trusting folks with certifications, by trusting programs and groups with a value stack where you get $5,000 worth of stuff for $9 or whatever it is, right? Like the little parentheses with the prices after. Like there have been a lot of people over the last 5-10 years that have bought into things like that. And then what they got was definitely not what was promised. It was like over promising and under delivering. And so a lot of people have been burned with that. And also, like we said, if everybody else and their mom has those same certifications, just really help you stand out amongst everybody else. Oftentimes, our ego tries to get in the way and clusterfucks things if we aren't careful. So just be aware. The other thing that I want to mention that I see often that you need to watch out for is a laundry list of bullet points. Like, yeah, we talked about don't do tools and methods, but like even if you've got 10 or 20, like really you can't put that many on a Skool about page because we all know it's like 1,000 character limit. I get it. But like even 5 to 10, like if you've just got that many bullet points of dream outcome, like mini whatever goal points on their way to their dream outcome, here is something to think about. Harvard did a study that showed people's brains sort of turned to mush after 3 bullet points. So if you have more than 3, sometimes 4, I kind of push it with 4 on a couple of my pages. At best case, they skim. Worst case, they just click off and they don't even bother reading that part. It's another case where more isn't always better. And so it's something to watch out for. And also with your bullet points, again, check on your mobile phone to catch that view, because I see often, like it looks clean on laptop, but then you go on mobile view, like you've got blocky text up at the top and then you've got bullet points, but the lines for each bullet point like bleed over. And so like they aren't clean. It's not like bullet, 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 bullet. It's like bullet, but run over, bullet, bullet, but run over. Like it looks real messy. And at that point, you might as well just turn it into a sentence and ditch the bullet points. And this next one is a little sticky. If you've been in Schoolers or you've seen any of my posts, you know this one is huge for me. You have to watch the fluff and jargon, whether it's in your VSL, whether it's on your creatives, whether it's in your about page text copy or your discovery bio. Oftentimes, we try to make our offer sound prettier or different and end up watering the message down so much with fluff and jargon that it doesn't actually land. The most important part, like the biggest takeaway from this that I want for you is to use your clients' words. Which ones? The ones they use, they speak, and they think in, particularly after they've had a few too many beers at the pub, or when they're up and spiraling at like 2 a.m. in the morning. I promise they are not saying that they just want a framework to help their mindset improve and heal their nervous system or regulate their nervous system. That's not what they're saying. If that's not what they're saying at 2 a.m. in the morning when they're spiraling, going, why isn't this working? Why can't I get to where I want to be? If only this would be different. Like, if those aren't the words that they're using at that point, then they really shouldn't be on your about page. And then the next part is infuse your flavor, your personality, your quirky bits, and what makes you you. Authentically you. Not the masked you, not the you that's all polished and has been trained up to be this way and that way and say these words and all of that. Like, truly you. Because you are what makes your space stand out from all of the rest of the spaces. Your about page copy and your VSL does not have to be polished and AI written and perfect. And in fact, you might find that the more that you infuse yourself into it, the more that it actually sets you and your space apart from all of the other spaces that are similar in your niche. And I will tell you from my experience, because I am the way I am, whether I'm here on video or whether I'm posting or commenting or on a call or on my about page or in my classroom. Because I am that way everywhere and I am uniquely me and all sorts of different facets of me. Because like in this YouTube video, like on YouTube long forms, we sit here because, and while like I've mentioned before, every time I think about changing it, one of my followers or my friends, my school friends, come and say, I really love the format of your long forms. It feels like I'm sitting and having coffee with you and we're just hashing some stuff out. So I leave it, right? Whereas my short forms are a little bit more, punchy and concise. And like, you don't have to be one monotone or one specific way everywhere, but your flavor and your essence and your vibration, right? Like if you're into the energetics and that kind of thing, the frequency that you resonate at. If you're that way everywhere you are, you start attracting folks into your space that match that vibration or are pretty close to that vibration and want to get there, right? And that's one amazing thing that I found over the last year and a half of building my space. It's like being me, because my about page doesn't look like any other about page in the money, like business, whatever group or niche. The humans, the amazing humans that have come into my space has blown me away. And I know damn well that if I had just done the copy paste template style about page and I wiped all of my quirkiness and what makes me me from it, they might have either just passed me by, maybe they would have joined, but most likely not. And so that's where I want to challenge you to lean hard. Like if you're quiet and reserved and you like books and, tea and like, whatever, like cultivate what makes you feel more like you. And it can be any range of things, right? But the more that you can figure that out and lean into that, the more you will start attracting people that are meant to be in your space. And it will be undeniable. And it shows them, right? That's what sets your space apart from everybody else's space that are in the same niche. And the last thing I will leave you with is, can you read your offer? Like, can you go through your about page objectively? Like, pretend it's somebody else, like somebody you don't know. Pretend it's somebody else's offer that you're coming across. And then ask yourself, would you opt in? Like I mentioned earlier, nobody's going to believe that you're giving away $5,000 worth of progress for $9 a month. Like, would you actually believe that if you saw it at this point? Or would you just think, oh, they're doing this, it's $5,000 worth of whatever for $9 a month? It must be a whole bunch of templates or AI generated BS, right? Another small tidbit is they probably also aren't going to believe you can help them reach 10K months if they're brand spanking new. This is the example that I'll use. Last year, Hormozy, in one of the Skool games calls, went over how they started focusing more on the average paid school community, like what the average paid school community makes, instead of the Skool games winners for their ads and like their ad campaigns, because it was more relatable to the folks that are just starting out in building their biz, that they wanted to come to school. It's more relatable and believable that they could make it from 0 to 1,500 was about the average I believe. Maybe it was 1,200 last year, was what the average paid school community. So that was a lot more believable. Like their brain could actually compute, oh, this could happen. This might work. Rather than them going from, starting at zero and thinking, oh, like I can make 20K or 40K a month. That's a lot bigger of a jump, and most humans aren't going to make that jump in their brains. Sometimes we just got to get the ego out of the way and speak human to human. And if we choose to do that, we might just be surprised what happens. And last of all, it's completely normal to do revisions and tweaks on your about page as you learn and as you grow. I've lost count of how many times that I've done mine. You just have to be careful to not let the about page become the main focus or a shiny object though. And as always, test. Messy action trumps perfect action every time, or inaction specifically. And testing to see what's best for you and your people is way better than just blindly following anybody's recommendations, even mine, because they and I were definitely not you. And we may not be your future members. Like, we may not be your ideal client. To finish this up, you're freaking amazing. You've got this. And if you have any questions, drop them below. I hope you have a freaking amazing week, and we will see you on the next one.